Welcome to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about Vitalant. We're honored to be joined by David Williams. He's the Regional Director of Vitalant, covering Memphis and Tupelo. How are you doing?
Doing great, Jeremy. How about you?
Doing good. We get to talk about the power of blood, saving lives, blood drives, hosting blood drives. So let's start, though, with a little bit about Vitalant overall. Many, when you talk about years ago, Lifeblood, they'll
right.
know that name for sure. But give us some backstory, a little bit of history for Vitalant.
Sure. Well, Lifeblood, people remember, for 20 plus years, but going back to 1963, when this organization was founded, we've been through 5 names. Lifeblood was just one of the 5. Vitalant's the 5th name, and we are part of a large nonprofit, just like Lifeblood was nonprofit, Vitalant's nonprofit, and we service 900 hospitals across the United States in 40 different states. We service 15 out of Memphis, 22 out of Tupelo. But the main reason why there's not a Lifeblood today is because it was so challenging to get volunteers to donate blood. And it required Lifeblood to go out on the open market to try to find enough blood to service those hospitals in the Memphis area. So for every 4 units of blood that we deliver to a Memphis hospital to help a patient in a Memphis hospital, only one of those units is donated locally. So when you're having to find 75% of blood products to be able to provide to your hospitals, to their patients, it can get rather expensive. So because we're part of Vitalant, we have access to the national inventory. So we rely actually on communities in Colorado, New Mexico, California, and the Northwest, where those communities actually donate more than their communities need. And some of that blood then comes our way. So we're hoping that as Vitalant, we can continue to increase the local blood supply, make it self-sustaining.
Yeah, and I think that's important insight when you talk about other communities having a surplus, and yet here we're behind pretty dramatically. And so when you talk about sustainability and being able to take care of our own citizens, now obviously when you talk about the area and being a trauma center, for the region, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But, the key to your point is, how do we increase the visibility, the awareness, and get more people donating blood so that we as a community can be more self-sufficient? And so talk about it from that perspective of what it means to be self-sufficient, because it is donating blood, but it's also platelets, and it's a lot that goes into this mix.
Yeah, there are a lot of different blood products, and somebody that's more clinically minded than me could provide a long list of those products, but most people are going to be inclined to, whether it's blood or a power rid that they would provide typically for preemie babies, that kind of stuff, platelets, plasma. Those are the things that most people would be familiar with when they would come and donate. And whether that's at one of our 5 donor centers in the Memphis area, the Tupelo Center, or on a mobile drive. A lot of people forget there's still blood mobiles out there rolling around.
Absolutely. Talk about lulls, because the holidays, it is a prime season on your end in terms of getting people, because it tends to be a lull in the past. And obviously we've got to raise that bar. So holidays and summer, talk about timing on your end.
Right. So we rely a lot on schools, a lot on churches. And so when school is out over the holidays or in the summertime, we see a big dip. It's also, very easy for people to become distracted with the holidays and everything that goes with the holidays. And it's like, well, I'll also take a holiday from donating blood. And so that then creates, a shortage beyond a typical shortage. So then we're having to bring in even more blood from the national inventory. But everybody around the country, that's not just a Memphis thing or a Tupelo thing, that's an everywhere thing. So, so the holidays just, I mean, it gets to where we're literally begging. And I know people can get tired of hearing, it's critical shortage or, an urgent shortage or other terms. I think we've had just anything to communicate just how low the blood supply is. Sometimes it gets as low as, a day on hand. And, you think about all the mass shootings, you think about things that happen around our country, weather events that require larger amounts of blood in an urgent situation. It's blood on the shelves that actually saves the lives, because the blood that you would donate today, it will take about 48 hours for it to go through testing and all the things that have to happen for it to actually be infused into a patient in a hospital. So,
Yeah.
So the holidays, yes, holidays and summertime, really painful for us.
Let's stay on that thread, that thought thread of things that you wish everyone knew when it comes to donating blood. And so you mentioned the different facilities, the different centers. And so talk about kind of the process, signing up or just showing up, how long it takes, all the things that we need to know, especially for first timers. What do you want them to know?
Well, the first thing I'd like to share is that, and I mentioned it in the previous comment, was only blood donated by volunteers can be transfused into a patient in a hospital, which means plasma centers and for-profit blood centers, we're all regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, but the Food and Drug Administration says that only blood donated by volunteers, and that would be blood, platelets, plasma, all the things we talked about. It has to be donated by volunteers to be transfused into a patient. The rest is used for pharmaceutical research or shipped overseas. So if you want to help mom, dad, neighbor, someone that it's important to do that as a volunteer and not be paid for that blood product.
Carry that into the process. So when it comes to, do you need to make a reservation versus just show up? We'll talk about the different ways you can go as an individual versus hosting a blood drive, which, that's a more of an organizational thing. But talk about for individuals who say, hey, I want to do this. How do I start the process and what do I need to know?
Right. So they can go to our website. They can call the toll-free number and make an appointment. And we love it when people make appointments, just like you would if you were a doctor. The doctor wants to know that the calendar's full. It helps us project and plan for how much blood we're going to be having locally and how much we need to be planning to bring in to the Memphis area. So it's really pretty simple to make the appointment. And then once you're there, you do a quick little screening. They then, take the blood from you. And I would say if it's a first-time donor, I would allow an hour just because you've got to go through all the setup stuff. We've got people that do donate pretty frequently, and they can get it down to, if they're just donating the whole blood, they can get in and out in 45 minutes. If you're doing some other things like platelets, or if you do a power red, those things do take a little bit longer. But it's, when you think about it in terms of, you're not really donating to Vitalant, you're donating through Vitalant to help someone that is in the hospital who otherwise is going to, be in additional pain or runs the risk of, running out of time. We also, think it's important for people to know that we do say that every unit donated can save up to 3 lives. But there are also people sometimes, and I was talking with a young lady not too long ago, and she shared with me that her husband was overseas in an automobile accident, and the blood transfusion that he was being given gave him enough time to survive for her to get all the way to London and to then be able to say goodbye and to get closure. So sometimes it literally does save someone's life. Sometimes it prolongs someone's life to give closure and provide a quality of life there at the end.
Well, I think it's important perspective too, when you talk about a donation that literally can save lives. I mean, there are the financial donations, which power the good in so many ways. But when you talk about being able to donate your blood, and like you said, in an hour or less, being able to ultimately save lives is something that's really powerful. That's a hard thing to top out in terms of like purpose. Like I can literally save lives by donating blood that will take an hour or less of my time. So I think it's a really powerful thing and a way for people to get involved. You mentioned hosting larger organizational drives, and I know that we have done them at Lipscomb and Pitts in the office and encouraged our team members to come out and do it as a group. And so talk about the group side of this.
Well, first, thanks Lipscomb and Pitts for doing the drives. And I know you're inviting City Current members to participate as well. So it's really not that difficult. We love for drives to start with the number 15. So if we can collect 15 units, we're doing pretty darn good. And of course, we have some drives that go up, 50, 70, we've done 100 units. But the average drive for us would be in that 15 to 20 unit range. Churches, schools, if you can believe it, 30% of our country's blood supply, it comes from high school students, which says a lot about high school students. It's just an incredible number. So, we do count on the schools, and we appreciate the principals and the superintendents that support us, not just in Memphis and Shelby County, but surrounding counties. Churches probably are like our number one category of donors, but businesses, government, we have had blood drives with the fire department recently, like the Memphis Fire Department, but other fire departments have helped out, as have police and sheriff's departments. And the fire department, Memphis Fire Department, they did over 100 units in 3 days. It was really, really big. One of the bigger drives we do each year.
Well, and I think it's really awesome to hear, like you say, about the high school students, the firefighters, police officers. I mean, they fully understand the importance of what you do for sure. But high school students, that shows us the future is bright for sure.
Yeah.
Carry that into how much lead time do you need? So if I'm saying, okay, this sounds great, I want to do it at my school, my church, my company, how much lead time do you and your team need?
We love it when we have at least 3 months to plan that drive. There are details, there are processes and systems. Plus, again, it helps us to project what we can expect in the coming weeks and months. There are those occasions when we have a hole in the schedule, somebody cancels and we need somebody, right on the spur of the moment. So it helps to know if somebody's willing to do that. But the more time that we have to schedule and plan, the better the drive typically is.
Give us a couple of the things that either, you definitely want the public to know, or easy ways for us to help beyond what we've talked about.
If people just knew all of the ways in which blood is used to help people, whether it's a cancer patient or a heart patient, if it's a premature baby or a new mom, If it's a sickle cell patient, an accident victim, even somebody that has hip replacement procedure might need 1 or 2 units of blood. So whether it's something that really is life-threatening or it's quality of life-threatening, people can make a big, big difference. And if you think about the people in your life who, have been a cancer victim or cancer survivor or any of the other things that I've mentioned, plus all the other ones that I didn't mention, it really is something that makes a difference. It makes a really, really big difference, sometimes the ultimate difference.
Yeah. And just like I said, I mean, if you want to save a life, donate blood. And especially when you look around at those you love and our neighbors here in our own community, it's an opportunity to help our neighbors and those we love by doing something, that really takes, like you said, an hour or less. So really powerful stuff, obviously very important, especially when you talk about the holidays and it being a lull. That means we need to step up and step in. So mention again the website. Where do we go to learn more? Where do we make our online, scheduling? So talk about Vitalant, where we can go to learn more.
Vitalant.org, Vitalant.org, Vitalant.org.
Well, David, thank you for all you and your amazing team do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for all your team does too. Power in the good.